Hi everyone, Jane Monreal here with you. Just about 9:35 on a Wednesday morning. We break away from that groundbreaking, a really good event there up in North Charlotte for one of the corridors of opportunity, latest investments in having affordable housing available there at Sugar Creek in I-85. Want to stay with our local news in Charlotte Metro and some more great news here. This is now in South Carolina and in Clover particularly because it is the Clover High School band that is preparing for this opportunity of a lifetime. They're marching in the prestigious Tournament of Roses Day Parade that will be happening January 1st. It is a remarkable achievement because it's really only the seventh school out of South Carolina to participate in this historic parade. We have the band director, Rick Langdale, joining us this morning. And congratulations, Rick. I mean, this has got to be a huge achievement for you and the group.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today here in the studio. As you mentioned, this is only the seventh time that South Carolina has had a band to represent the state in Pasadena, California, and the last one was in 2003. And so it's been a little over 21 years, I think, by the time we'll get there. So it's pretty exciting.
Wow, we're looking at a picture right now of the announcement here. And so what was this like? How did this happen?
Well, it's really difficult to keep secrets. It's also really difficult to keep secrets in a small town like Clover. And so there were a few fibs that had to be told. Luckily, our band is used a lot in great ways to be present at different announcements and assemblies. So I just told the kids, hey, we have this thing that we're playing at. The school's getting an award. I really don't know anything else. And so we're going to go do this. But because it was kind of business as usual, the kids didn't really get anything. As we were setting up, a couple of the older students saw that there was a vase of roses and that we had little roses on our lapels. And so a couple of the kids said, I think this might be something for us.
Might be something extra
and so that was kind of
special.
cool. And we had a couple of really cool moments, and I had some staff up in the balcony to do some cannons of some rose petals, but we had some technical difficulties. They did not fire. So it was very funny. So we ended up having some really good bloopers, I guess would be the best way to describe it. But we also had some really good moments. And some of the kids also, just because we have a lot of newer students, didn't quite understand what it meant, and so once I kind of explained it, it was definitely exciting. And we had a video message from the president of the Tournament of Roses officially telling the students. When I was told on a live Zoom meeting, I was told that we made it to a next round of interviews, and so I needed to be available for an interview with the music committee. Okay. And they would ask me some follow-up questions to my application, which was great because I was like, oh, we made a cut, so this is great. And I felt like that was positive, but I wasn't sure. And then they said, well, really, we only need to know one question. And the question was, can you bring your band to the Tournament of Roses?
Oh, my gosh, I just got goosebumps.
Of course, all that's on film. And so I'm like a mess, my kids tap dancing around in the kitchen, So it's pretty cool.
That is very cool. So how does this selection process work then? It sounds like you had to make several cuts to get to that point. And what do you think set the band apart from others?
So great questions. And So any band can apply internationally or domestically, any age group, collegiate, high school like ours, or even a multi-age group from other countries or in the country. So there's an application process on their website, Tournament of Roses, and it's usually due around this time. In fact, I think it's due this week or maybe next week for the next year. So you apply in May for a year and a half out, almost 2 years out. And so we applied in May of last year. And it used to be a huge paper process where you get letters and pictures and things like that. Now everything is digitized, so I had to upload pictures of all of our uniforms, pictures of different parts of our uniforms, what that would look like. I had to have letters of recommendation from professional colleagues and mentors for the program, speaking on the behalf of me as a teacher, but also our organization. I had to have a letter from our superintendent and our principal saying that if selected, they're okay with us going. And then I also had some letters from community leaders. So I had a letter from Congressman Ralph Norman, who's our U.S. representative. We also had a letter from two State House representatives, Neil Collins from the Easley area, as well as Tommy Pope, who's the Speaker Pro Tem, who's one of the York County reps. So we had letters from them. And then, of course, different people vouching for us.
You're applying for like an Ivy League
absolutely.
entry there.
It was definitely a who's who of trying to get letters and support. And so that's kind of part of the portal. The most important thing is the video. So there's a 6-minute max video, and they're very specific about what it's going to be. It has to be a minute of me talking, introducing me and the band. There's no more than 2 minutes of a competitive performance or a show of the band performing within the last 12 months. And then there had to be footage of the band in a parade. And then there had to be footage, and this is very specific to the Rose Parade, there had to be footage of the band taking a 105-degree turn. Because if you've ever watched the parade, as soon as you start the parade right there in front of the tournament house, you get to TV corner. Well, TV corner is when you turn onto Colorado Boulevard. That is a 105-degree angle turn, which is not a normal turn for a band.
Oh, wow.
And turns can be disastrous for bands. So they want to know that the band could turn and it not be a disaster, because it is covered by every news outlet.
Absolutely.
And if you miss, Hoda's right there on the corner, and so if you miss the turn, you could run into Hoda's tower or something like that. It should be horrible. So they want that too. And then there's a committee. There's, I think, 300 members of the Tournament of Roses organization, and then they have several committees for the different parts of their organization. There's a music committee, and so they have a movie night in the summer, and they sift through all of the applications, and so the committee members they eat popcorn and snacks, and they watch these videos, and then they kind of make their lists, and then kind of like the top however many gets submitted for kind of executive review by the president and his wife and the rest of the team, and they start selecting. And then we get notified. They try to notify us late summer, early fall, just so you have almost, a little over a year to fundraise.
Okay. Wow. That is so extensive. And you're bringing around 300 students. That is going to cost a lot of money.
It is. And so to talk a little bit about the program and where we are, Clover, even though Clover is such a small little place, it is the best kept secret that's no longer really a secret as far as being in a smaller area, but having proximity to the Charlotte metro area, being close to Rock Hill and York and Fort Mill. We have the best of all the worlds. Like, we can be close to a large city. We have a lake that is right here. We have lots of, the life of living on the lake. We also have the ability to live on a farm and have farm animals. And so we have really a wonderful melding pot of students and backgrounds. And so right now, all roads lead to Clover, but we're a year out from opening our second high school in our school district. So it'll be Lake Wiley High School will be opening fall of 2026.
Okay.
And as well as opening another middle school and another elementary school. And so the band has not been less than 210 since I've been the director in the last 3 years. Every year we've gone up in size. And the history of this band program, we just celebrated our 75th anniversary last year. It started out as a very small 3A school, and it's kind of been in that area. So for us to be over 200 and every year a little bit more, we're anticipating somewhere in the 275 to 300 range as far as once we get all the students onboarded in the next few weeks for this coming year. And of course we want all the kids to go, but it is a cost factor.
Yeah.
We don't do just the parade. So we'll leave the Saturday after Christmas, and we'll spend about a week out in California. So we'll fly out. We have to send a semi-truck with our instruments and equipment. So we have to hire a hauler for that.
Yeah, a lot of logistics.
And
hotel.
so we go out. Yeah, and of course all that's we have a travel company that's going to be handling a lot of that for us, or all that for us. And so one of the things that I really work hard to do with the students when we travel, and we just did Ireland in 2024. We were in St. Patrick's Day parade in Dublin. But I want the students not to worry, and the parents worry about their kids eating and some of the things. So once they pay their trip fee, they don't have any expenses while we're there. But we'll perform in Disney. We're going to get to perform in Disney on January the 2nd. There's going to be a private Disney event where after the park closes, us and a few other bands are going to be able to be in California's California Adventure,
Awesome.
which is pretty cool. We've got a couple other performances that we're going to do kind of like friends and family with some other bands while we're out there, as well as the Tournament of Roses has what's called Band Fest, where they get the local college there in Pasadena they use their stadium, and so all the bands that are perform for each other and their fans, and so it's a really cool event.
You have a full schedule. That doesn't sound like a
Absolutely.
winter break
Yeah.
when you go to
Well,
California.
I'm a firm believer in idle hands or the devil's playground. So
There you go.
any band trip, you want the kids to be so exhausted when they get back to the hotel, they're not up to anything.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very
And then
good.
there'll be some fun stuff. We're going to spend some time at Santa Monica Pier, so the kids will get to see the beach. We're going to go to Hollywood. We're going to get to go and experience some of the touristy stuff as well.
So, Rick, the question is, how much is this going to cost families, and a lot of families that won't be able to afford this, right?
Yeah, so great question. It is an all-inclusive trip, and so pricing-wise is going to be somewhere in the upper 3,000s, right around 4,000, upper 3,000, 4,000, depending
Per
on
student?
a couple things per
Okay.
student. So for us to go, it's going to be around $1 million, a little over $1 million
Okay.
with our students. So we're trying, if we can raise around $300,000 as an organization, then we can apply that to that, bottom line for the kids. That would pay for airfare. Airfare right now is somewhere between $800 to $1,000 per kid. So
Okay.
we could drop that down substantially and make it a little bit more affordable. We've had a few people reach out to say that they can sponsor one or two kids, either anonymously
good.
or kids that they know.
Right.
So that's an option too, like if someone in the community wants to do something like that. But we just recently did a golf tournament. We're going to be doing several other big events. We have on our website, cloverbands.com, there's a /Rose Parade. You can go on there. You can sponsor a mile with a penny a mile, $1 a mile, and
nice.
kind of get us there. It's about 2,400 miles from Clover High School to the Tournament of Roses house.
Yep.
And so there's a way you could do that. We're going to do some impromptu parades in the fall in Clover and try to do that.
Okay, so yeah, you're busy between now
Yeah.
and the parade, and then you have all the events once you get to Southern California. And so the golf tournament went well, it sounded like. You do have some other events coming up this summer, and then really the students are going to be at it again.
Yeah.
Little break after school ends, right? And then
Right.
back at it.
Yeah, this is, a trip of a lifetime and an amazing opportunity for our students. But we also still do all the normal things. Like there's still high school kids. We're still going to be putting together our competitive show. In the last 3 years, or 2 of the last 3 years, we have been the bronze medalist in the top class in South Carolina, in 6A this past year, and then 5A the year before.
Wow.
So competitively, we're one of the best bands in the state and in the Southeast. One of the largest as well, which is exciting. And so we're still going to do all of the normal things. We'll play for our amazing football team, and Blue Eagle Nation will be the ambassadors and the guardians of the school spirit, be at the pep rallies, do all the normal things that normal bands do. But we're also going to be preparing for this 7-mile parade that's going to happen on New Year's Day. So that's the other thing. It is the most prestigious parade to get into.
Yes.
It is also the longest parade.
Yeah.
So it is something that we're going to be preparing for as far as, getting them used to. Like our Christmas parade in Clover is 1.2 miles, and there's no turn.
Right.
Whereas,
One straight line.
Yeah, so this is a lot different as far
Yeah.
as how we're going to prepare the kids. Luckily, Pasadena's weather in January is not much different than our weather most of the year.
That's true.
And so
Nice and
it's
dry.
cooler whenever it's, the sun's not out and it's a little bit warmer.
Well, the kids have got to be ecstatic. Saw
Yeah.
some of their faces, pictures of their faces when they learn of the news. Again, Rick, how can people help? This is such a big deal, not only for Clover High School, but really South Carolina, if not the Carolinas. So I know you're doing us proud. How can people help again?
So it is a huge thing, and whether you're a band person or not, the Rose Parade, this will be the 137th year of the Rose Parade, and it has such a rich history. And one of the really cool things about the Tournament of Roses is every part of the experience while that happens is just world class. And so once the bands are selected, The president of the organization, he and his spouse, or if it's a female, their spouse or whatever, they visit each band's town, and they come out and they kind of do a formal presentation to the organization, but also they help with fundraising. And so we were fortunate enough to have President Mark Levins and his wife Kay come in March and spend 4 days with us, or 5 days with us in Clover. And it was their first trip to the Carolinas, which was really great.
That's good.
And what's really cool is, and this has been around for quite some time, they just make themselves available. And so we can kind of like parade them around and show them what's amazing about our area, but also get them to help fundraise. So we had some events where we spoke to the Rotary, and we took them to our state capitol, and it was an aggressive ask, but we actually, during budget week, were able to get recognized on the floor by the speaker, which was really great. They did a House resolution, and so we took them on a tour of the Capitol, and we had some really great moments. We had some lunch with some congressional staffers, and what was really cool, though, is if you've ever been to Clover, it used to be known as a town with a one stoplight, but now we have at least, I think, 3 or 4 stoplights.
Oh, wow.
I know, we're up and coming.
Quadruple.
Yeah, but if you go to the town of Clover, or Clover proper, we actually, it's the intersection of 2 state highways. So when we want to stop traffic, you have to get state approval. So and so I jokingly, when I was coordinating this with the town, I said, well, we don't necessarily have to call it a road closure. What if it's a road slosure? Like, it just slows the traffic down. And so, of course, one of the town administrators was like, oh, I like that. Maybe we could try that. So we actually did shut down traffic, and we did an impromptu parade. And several businesses were open for some specific events that night whenever we kind of wrapped up, their visit, and which was really great. And we talked about how we can do some things, and the community is really coming behind us. Like the Carolina Chocolate Company, it's a wonderful chocolate company. They also have great ice cream that my daughter keeps them in business with. But they made chocolate roses, and so a portion of those profits are going to come back to the band. Another local boutique did custom shirts, and so profits come back to the band. And a restaurant said, we're going to do a dessert, and that's going to come back to the band. And so there's several things.
All adds up.
Our local educational foundation, Cloverleaf, they have donated $5,000 now to the efforts.
Okay.
And we have several other donors as well. So cloverbands.com/Rose Parade. You can see some information. My contact info is on there. We have opportunities to sponsor if you're a business, you want to do something bigger. We also want to be creative. Like if you want the band to come and appear at an event, do couple different things, that's a possibility.
Okay.
We want every student that wants to be able to go, and of course, this is a big financial commitment. But it's also a great way to show what's amazing about the Carolinas.
I mean, really, an experience of a lifetime for young kids involved in the arts and the travel and all that goes with it. So we wish you luck, and keep us in the loop and let us know where you are with things, Rick.
Absolutely.
And as we get closer to those dates, we'd love to revisit with you. Summer's going to be busy. Students are going to get onboarded. They're going to have 300 students. They got to raise a lot of money, friends. So let's show them our love. Clover High School band going to the Tournament of Roses parade in about 7 months, and they could use our support. Rick,
Absolutely.
we thank you for coming
Thank
in.
you for having me.
Coming into the Live Impact studio here on WCNC Plus. Oh, wow, that was very exciting, everybody. We will keep them in our thoughts and wish them well. And again, we'll put all of the information on our website, WCNC.com.